We're back with a new podcast series, and if you're ready, let's begin. Bob Wei, who has been involved with Ripple since its early days and has a deep vision for the future of XRP, has made a very bold statement about when XRP will reach its peak. This statement suggests that a market-shattering surge is on the horizon, much sooner than many people expect. However, what Bob Wei says is not just a prediction. These statements also bring to light little-known strategies that Ripple has been carrying out behind the scenes. Among these strategies is a shocking development that explains why giants like Western Union have suddenly joined Ripple's network. So, let's dive right into the subject and look at the details of this surprising information. At the very beginning of our video, I would like to ask you to like this video and subscribe to my channel to support my work. Now, let's get to the topic. Bob Wei's astonishing statements about XRP. Bob outlines a very clear roadmap for how Ripple will transform the global financial system. One of the most critical parts of this roadmap is Ripple's banking license applications and stablecoin projects. Bob states that the completion of these processes will be the most important catalyst for multiplying the value of XRP, and says that he expects a major surge within the next 12 months. This is a time frame much shorter than many XRP investors could ever imagine. So, why are Ripple's banking licenses so important? According to Bob Wei, the real problem is that existing banks are reluctant to serve XRP Ledger, XRPL-based businesses. Just as legal cannabis businesses struggle to find banking services, the XRPL ecosystem has difficulty integrating into the traditional banking system. This situation limited XRP's liquidity and slowed down the growth of the ecosystem. To overcome this obstacle, Ripple is taking a strategic step. It is becoming a bank itself. In this way, it will function as an on-ramp and off-ramp that provides direct inflow and outflow of money to the XRPL ecosystem. This will allow new fintech companies to establish businesses directly on the XRPL, without the hassle of trying to convince traditional banks. This strategy becomes even more concrete with the acquisition of Western Union by Intermex. For years, there had been speculation that Western Union would adopt XRP, but it never happened. That is, until Intermex, a company that was already using Ripple's ODL, on-demand liquidity services, acquired Western Union. This unexpected development reveals Ripple's game plan. Large players that are slow to adopt new technology will be swallowed up by more agile and technology-focused competitors. This acquisition means that Western Union will be forced to use the XRP network. This shows us how strategic Ripple is. In Bob Wei's words, with Ripple obtaining its banking license, old-school banks will either adapt to this change or slowly disappear from the market. By taking liquidity into its own hands and building the new banking ecosystem itself, Ripple is checkmating the entire industry. Now let's get to what these banking licenses and stablecoins mean. Bob Wei says that when Ripple begins issuing banking licenses and stablecoins, such as RLUSD in countries outside the US, it will quickly become clear how the entire plan works. In the next section, we will take a deeper look at the details of this global banking strategy and how it will explode the price of XRP. Ripple's banking move is not limited to just getting a license. It is actually part of its goal to reshape the entire financial system. As Bob Wei also points out, Ripple aims to become a global neobank. So, what will be the difference between Ripple as a neobank and traditional banks? While traditional banks use cumbersome and slow systems like SWIFT for international money transfers, Ripple's neobank model will perform all these transactions instantly and at a much lower cost via the XRPL. This completely eliminates the foreign currency exchange process between banks. As a result, transfers will be completed in seconds, and the exorbitant fees charged by intermediary banks will be a thing of the past. The biggest winner of this transformation will be XRP. This is because XRP will act as the core bridge asset, providing global liquidity in this new system. Ripple positions existing financial institutions not as competitors, but as customers that provide on-ramp and off-ramp services. In other words, traditional banks will be able to offer faster and cheaper services to their own customers by joining Ripple's system and using the XRPL. Bob Wei emphasizes that banks are merely intermediaries that manage the flow of money, and the real value comes from the businesses and individuals that use these services. This does not mean that Ripple is completely challenging the traditional banking system. On the contrary, it is offering them a new lifeline. However, to access this lifeline, they must also play by Ripple's rules. One important detail is that Ripple's banking licenses and stablecoins may lead it to function as a new central bank. Like the Chinese central bank digital currency, CBDC, Ripple's stablecoins will enable different countries to digitize their currencies. This will allow governments and central banks to issue their own digital currencies on the XRPL. This could result in the XRPL being adopted as a global CBDC infrastructure. This means that XRP will become the fuel of this massive system. Bob Wei's 12-month timeline is a strong indication that all these developments will accelerate soon. The most important thing we need to pay attention to during this process is to track which countries Ripple obtains banking licenses in and in which currencies it issues stablecoins. Bob Wei says that when these steps begin to be taken, the value of XRP will increase exponentially. In the next section, we will address a shocking claim that the real power behind this massive transformation may be a secret agreement that an ordinary investor could not even imagine. Finally, let's take a closer look at the hidden power behind this massive strategy. Ripple's special agreements with corporate clients and on-chain data. With banking licenses, stablecoins, and the integration of major players like Western Union, Ripple is turning the XRPL into a massive digital liquidity pool. However, this process is not just about wait and see. As Bob Wei implies, this process has already begun. So what is the proof of this? When we look at on-chain data and Ripple's corporate transfers, we see large amounts of XRP being moved to corporate wallets. These movements are often a harbinger of major corporate deals or strategic moves. This shows that Ripple is not just theoretically in the process of becoming a bank, but is also actively working to fill this new liquidity pool. In addition, the resolution of Ripple's lawsuit with the SEC played a key role in accelerating this process. The lawsuit was one of the biggest obstacles to Ripple's international expansion. With this obstacle removed, there is nothing left to stop Ripple from moving forward at full speed. Bob Wei's within 12 months estimate is a concrete reflection of this acceleration process. Now I want to ask you a question. Do you think Ripple's strategy can truly place XRP at the center of the financial world? Or will the traditional financial world continue to resist this change? Don't forget to leave your comments below. I hope this video has given you a new perspective on XRP. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications for more in-depth analyses like this. See you in our next video. Goodbye.